mean, to be fair, we've recommended you to a few people, and I think they've had projects done. So I think that to me is a big thing I would like to say for you.
It's made a great entertaining spot. I mean, when people come back here, it's without question every time it's like, wow, this is gorgeous.
I appreciate the trust that you've given us to work with you multiple times for your neighbors. We've also used you as references. We've had our manufacturer out here.
Yeah.
Good experience. That's a very good experience.
Can you walk me through what the process was when you decided to go ahead and put the original hot tub pad out in there? What was your thought? If you can think back to 2016 or whenever that was.
Yeah.
I think we actually just went to the home show. We did the state fair or the home show at the fairgrounds, and we saw the hot tubs. And we weren't really looking for hot tubs, and they sold us on a hot tub, and then we sort of needed to find out where we were going to put it. Time we had a big wood shed there, and the welding shed wasn't there, and so we actually moved the sheds.
Yeah, like a ratty looking shed, and we had a huge Cedar Theodora, and they are messy. I think it got buggy. It was just like, let's just get rid of that and extend.
It was really about extending. This was already aggregate. Also, the fire pit over there was aggregate, and so we just wanted to extend the patio a bit, give it a little bit more space. And so we did. So we decided to put the hot tub over there, get some power put in over there, and just create another area. And so that's kind of where it started. It was after doing the stamped concrete. We had done some stamped concrete work. So we were debating on whether to put aggregate there to carry the aggregate across, stamped concrete over there, or the pavers.
Because I think that was the first time we were using pavers, period. But I think we leaned that way partly because we liked the wall and we wanted lighting, and we didn't know we were going to continue. So we started small to see, do we like it? Is it manageable? And then the design guy came out. Well, we had several come out that were doing stamped concrete, aggregate, pavers, and
I think we were originally thinking that the cost was going to be a lot more extreme, and in the end, the pavers were probably a little more expensive. The aggregate was by far the cheapest, but we didn't really want the aggregate. We were really looking more for the stamped concrete or the pavers, and the pavers just weren't that much more expensive. And so the ability to create the wall and the lighting and all of that, all the features that we wanted over there, we went with you guys.
So ultimately, when you were deciding between the stamped concrete and the pavers, would there be a couple things that would have swung you one way or the other, considering it sounded like the cost was pretty comparable?
The cost would have been that much different.
Yeah.
We would have stayed with the stamped concrete probably. But the flexibility of the pavers is what we ultimately, I think, liked. And the cost became, I won't say negligible, but certainly with the benefit of what we were going to be getting with the wall and the lighting in the wall and that kind of stuff. I think it made it a lot more attractive for us.
And then we had with each of the contractors that came out, we had a few pavers, and then we had all of them come out. That when we talked to your guy, we had a design in our heads, and he made it better. And I think it was like, yeah, okay, you're getting. Instead of just drawing exactly what we said and going with that, and I can't remember exactly what he changed. We have kind of a curvature to this whole zone, and he stuck with that curvature and understood that, and then added it on the inside.
I think the wall was the big one, where he stepped the wall down.
Yeah.
And tied it into the stamped concrete that is over there. So I think that's
and then also kind of convincing us, well, you can have the stamps right next to it, and we'll tie it in with the right coloring and the right.
Well, and also the border. There's a line of sailors.
Yeah.
The ones lying down, flat on the ground.
Yeah.
So they actually create a definite border between the two products.
Well, that and
ties it in nice.
And the pattern that's in this concrete is the same that's in the stamped concrete. So I can't remember what you call that, the side pattern. The
design of the actual.
The shapes. Yeah. So it very much kind of sold us that, you could tie it in, and we're super happy with the combination of all three.
So then it came to having our design consultant come out and meet with you, and you kind of talked about that from start to finish. What did that process look like when, from the very first initial time you met with him, specifically about that whole design process, till you maybe even going into details of deciding between, as you said, 7 different people possibly were out here, narrowing it down and working with all these different people?
Yeah.
How did that all play out?
We like people that, one, like our dogs. That's
You
very
get along with
important,
our
very
dogs.
important to us. And 2, again, his patience, I think, was a
Yeah.
big thing. His willingness to sit with us for a couple of hours and walk
Yeah.
around multiple times.
And I think he
And it's such a
changed
small
the
area.
design. Yeah, he
But he
changed the
was more than
design a
willing
few
to
times.
work with us on that.
And I think we kind of got a more personal. I mean, we've said that many times that you guys were much more personal from start to end than, I'll say, some of the bigger companies or some that just came in and kind of wanted to cookie cutter it for us. That we really
Sign right now.
Yeah, and kind of the pressure. I can do this today if you know, and you guys were much more patient with our, I'll say, our swirl and just helping us see through the process.
What was the process like working with us once you agreed, signed a contract, then actually starting ground, breaking ground, that process, working with the crew and the teams? What was that like?
Pretty easy. They showed up on time every morning, worked all day long, and the weather was cooperative. I seem to remember it was, I would say, March or April.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best weather, but they worked really hard. They cleaned up every day.
Yeah.
They laid plywood down when they were going to be moving heavy equipment across the lawn. There were wheelbarrows and the forklifts and that kind of stuff that was thrown back and forth. They kept the driveway fairly clean and melted their stuff.
Yeah.
There had to be
We always
materials out there.
We always knew who was primary that we could communicate with, so that was great. That's always key to us with any of the contractors. We like to have a person we know we can go to and say, you know, because we did make some changes along the way or corrections, and we did this, and so it was great to have that someone that we could connect with and just responsive. Big for us is the on time. You know, that you guys showed up when you said you were going to show up, and that was huge.
Yeah.
Nice group.
We also offer warranty with the workmanship. Did you ever at any point have to use the warranty?
We did. We over the course of the years on multiple projects, we've had to. The biggest one, and it's such a small thing really, is that the caps come off some of the walls. And sometimes we'll fix them. If there's a bunch of them, we've called you once
I think one time, yeah.
There's a bunch of them that have come apart.
Yeah.
But the big one over in the hot tub area was actually there was a flat spot, a dip, where water was collecting. And you guys came out and raised that up a bit and fixed that.
How was it using it? Like as far as reaching out to us, what was that experience like?
Quick response, and
Easy.
said we'll be here, whatever it was, in a
Yeah.
couple of days or a week. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing major went wrong. So
Yeah,
you guys
just
raised
easy.
time, and you were here, and we were always home. You never had to arrange to be here without us.
So many people, it might be their first project or they haven't had an outdoor project like this, first time home buyers. You guys have had so many projects done at your place.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that's maybe looking to do a backyard patio or retaining wall? What should they be looking for when they're trying to narrow down a company to work with? What can they expect as far as just a project in general? Expectations.
So what to expect? I think being realistic that there's going to be a mess, you know, that you just have to endure that. Like we have a lot of windows, there's going to be dust and that kind of thing. But I think my advice would be really to not get so locked into what you think you want, especially in that design phase, because we really did kind of listen to you guys and say, yeah, that would work, and it turned out better than what we thought. So I think listening to the design people, because they better know, you know, what'll fit and how it'll work. And then just, you know, expectation wise, I think there, you know, it really is just kind of some mess, takes a little time. So yeah, I mean, so with you guys, there were a couple of things, like we made a change order out there to the kids, let's call it the kids patio, where we just wanted a little bit of a space, almost like where we could put their food or whatever they were going to have out there.
So what details about your project do you like? Or what details, even after a couple of years, stand out that you're like, oh, we're so glad we did it this way, or we're so glad we added this to our project?
I think, and I'm not sure that we added it, but I think the fact that we've created this long space
Yeah.
From the garden side, it's hard to see from this side, but from the garden side, everything's got a bit of a curve to it.
Yeah.
And it's basically a continuous curve all the way along. And that was done with the patios, creating this large space without really taking away from our yard.
I like I like that we decided to add the fire pit on top of the aggregate that tied everything in. And then I was telling you earlier, I love these, I don't know what they're called, sailors, the things that stand up.
Soldiers.
Okay.
Sailors lying down.
That hold all of the dirt washing, because we were constantly having dirt wash on our stamped concrete walkways. So feature-wise, love that. Love the lighting. Love the walls. We love the fire. All of it. And probably the biggest thing for us, we've got all these windows in the house, and at night when we sit down to relax, if we're not out here looking out here.
When you went into this project, you probably had some expectations. Were your expectations met, or did we exceed them in any way? Were any feedback on relation to that?
That's a tough one. I mean, I would say our expectations were met. I don't want to say they weren't. It's not that they weren't exceeded. They were definitely met. But I don't want to be mean and say no, they weren't exceeded. But
well, I would say they were definitely to the degree that we kept going.
Yeah.
Right, because we didn't do it
Fair
in
enough.
one shot. So we did the first one, we loved it enough that we did the second one, that we loved enough that we did the third one, and then we started to do a fourth one, and had your guys out, and we were going to put, I think, a wall around the center out there, and we started to realize it had nothing to do whether we would like it or not. We realized we were putting a wall in front of the garden, and so it was not
the design
smart.
The
to
design
do it.
team suggested it was a bit of an odd.
Yeah, and so it's like we have to stop. I mean, we have to stop because really it's all.
So no, I guess you did exceed. Yeah, in fairness, you did exceed because we come back 3 times.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, there's actually those 3 times there's actually 5 or 6 contracts.
Yeah.
The third time there was actually a couple of different.
And I would say exceeded in that, for me anyway, because I really had something in my head, and as fortunately we were home. That would be another thing I would say. It's helpful if you can be around enough to kind of keep an eye on things, because there were a couple of areas that your guys were maybe doing a little bit different, or they suggested a different way, and those things were better than what we had planned. So exceeded in that way for sure. Our fireplace got giant, and that was exceeded when we started.
He burnt his eyebrows for that.
Right. Yeah.
But
What challenges or obstacles did you experience in any of the projects while working with us? And then how did we work through this?
You guys were, you didn't have to face, like when we've had other projects done, the garden as much as some others, and for the most part, you guys are pretty protected, but we have had others who, throw the hose right on stuff and break it when they could put the hose right there, or so we didn't face that as much.
drive a
with
dump
you
truck in
guys.
the backyard.
Yeah, we had somebody drive a dump truck after we said, do not drive the dump truck
Not a dump
in our
truck, cement
backyard because you're gonna break our sprinkler system. Turned around and they were driving it across, and we had trenches this big and broke things, and so we didn't.
And that
face
wasn't
any of that.
useful.
Yeah, yeah,
No, it was good.
yeah.
Positive experience.
If there's anything else that you would like to, like things that stand out to you that you would love to share, because I'm really would love to hear any other feedback or stories or.
I think to be fair, we've recommended you to a few people, and I think they've had projects done. So I think that to me is a big thing I would like to say for you, is knowing that we recommended you to somebody else.
Yeah.
We did the neighbors across the street.
Yeah.
Dan, right?
Dan and Leah. Yeah. I would recommend to anybody to really factor in lighting. That has been huge for us at night, to look out and see the lighting everywhere. And the lights have been good. I think we had one go out, and then you gave us, the info on those, and that was quick and easy. So I think that's been a good plus. But having the lighting is huge. No, we love the space, and
I appreciate the trust that you've given us to work with you multiple times for your neighbors. We've also used you as references. We've had our manufacturer out here take pictures. Your product has been in the catalogs, and it means a lot to have a relationship for years.
Yeah.
And the next continued years we'll have this relationship. I know that it's not just a transactional customer where we come in and we are $500 cheaper, so you went with us. We're here 8 years later, I think you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, again, you weren't the cheapest, you weren't the most expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
really
was
is a
relationship.
connection thing for us that we've just got you sold us that you're going to do a good job, and you did. And I think that we've gone that way with a number of contractors where they're not the cheapest, but we just get a good vibe. And so that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think we've been pretty right on those choices of that, you know. And when we picked the other way, we've been pretty right on that way too.
Yeah.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve and Kelly. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And appreciate you giving us this opportunity to come back and do a video testimonial.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a good experience.
Very good. So.